Hello, I'm Robin and welcome to BookSpin. Today let's talk about From the Earth to the Moon, my first read of 2023. This is an 1865 science fiction story by Jules Verne about a group of men who plan to build and launch a rocket to the moon via a giant space gun. This is a fairly short novel, notable for its early depiction of space travel and including some scientifically realistic calculations for the time. It was also inspiration for one of my favourite novels, The First Men in the Moon by H.G. Wells, and the world's first science fiction film, the 1902 French film A Trip to the Moon. The story is set after the end of the American Civil War. A group of weapons enthusiasts called the Baltimore Gun Club are restless and on the lookout for a new project. Their president Barbicane comes up with a grand and ambitious proposal to build a huge cannon that will allow them to shoot a projectile to the moon. Estimations are made to test the feasibility of this experiment. A plan and a timescale are put in place, and the engineering and building work begin in earnest. When an eccentric French adventurer turns up and insists on travelling inside the projectile, the stakes become higher when it is agreed to upgrade the project to a manned voyage. Barbicane himself decides to join the crew along with a third passenger. Throughout the story, we follow these characters and their challenges, the excitement and drama they face, up to the designated moment of the projectile's launch from the enormous Columbiad space cannon in Florida. Now, despite the scale of the story and the international suspense leading up to the climax of the experiment, the writing in this book feels quite dull and quaint by modern standards. In particular, the first half is pretty dry as all the focus is on scientific and technical theory. For the most part, this is just the gun club sitting around discussing the various astronomical, mechanical, topographical, and financial requirements. It does have a light-hearted tone though, and there are a few humorous moments. Things start getting more interesting once the Frenchman Michel Ardan enters the scene, but that doesn't happen until the latter half of the novel. At this point, a humorous character dynamic builds up between Ardan, the president of the gun club, and the president's rival and fierce critic, Captain Nicholl, who is a plate armor designer determined to prove that the whole thing is a foolish project doomed to failure. I should also say that there is a twist ending, which I won't spoil, but I really liked. It ends on a cliffhanger, which I wasn't expecting. At first, I wasn't that bothered about reading the sequel Around the Moon anytime soon, but now I feel I have to read it as I want to know what happens next. So, to give a score for From the Earth to the Moon, this novel, I don't think it stands the test of time in the same way as Verne's other classics such as 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I loved. The first half of this book, or the first 60% maybe, is a 2-star read for me. Then it gets a bit more interesting, and I would give the rest of the story 3 stars, so that averages out at 2.5 stars. Yeah, 2.5 stars. This is not a bad book, it's just a bit dull, and it does take a long time for any action or character development to kick in. Maybe after I read Around the Moon, the sequel, I will reevaluate this book as I feel like it's act one of a bigger story. So maybe this book is less impressive in isolation. Let me know your thoughts if you've read this or Around the Moon. And do things start getting more interesting in the second book? I should hope so, because this is actually a longer book. And at this point in the story, the travelers have finally left the Earth's atmosphere. So I would expect some more excitement and adventure in the story. All right, it's now BookSpinner time. We have 49 science fiction books left on the BookSpinner, so let's give it a spin and see what I'm going to read next. The First 15 Lives of Harry August. Here it is, The First 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North. Let's have a look. Some stories cannot be told in just one lifetime. No matter what he does or the decisions he makes, every time Harry dies, he always returns to where he began. A child with all the knowledge of a life lived a dozen times before. Nothing ever changes until now. As Harry nears the end of his 11th life, a little girl appears at his bedside. "I nearly missed you, Dr. August," she says. "I need to send a message." This is the story of what Harry does next, and what he did before, and how he tries to save a past he cannot change and a future he cannot allow. Definitely looking forward to this one. I've heard so many good things about it. I think the time loop premise sounds quite similar to Ken Grimwood's Replay, which I really enjoyed. So I'll let you know how I get on. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more sci-fi content.